What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Seals Pod. I'm your host, Teddy Jenner, and this week, boy, do we have a legendary show for you. Two of the icons of the sport of lacrosse, both indoors and out, from the United States of America. So it makes them even more special that we're talking to them as current National Lacrosse League Hall of Famers. It's Casey Powell and Kevin Finneran. Lads, how are we?
Great. Good to be on the show. Thanks, Ted.
Hey, Teddy. Good to be with you. And obviously my great fellow American and Hall of Famer, Casey Powell.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. Like I said, you guys have been kind of waiting for this moment for a long time to get in the Hall of Fame, and we'll touch into that a little bit. But Casey, you are in New Jersey. What's going on there? You're coaching a lot of lacrosse. You're molding the youth. Speed lacrosse is blowing up. What's been keeping you busy, man?
Yeah, I'm kind of all over the place, but all things lacrosse. So all things great. I get to be on the field and do a lot of different things in the sport of lacrosse. And, the playing has afforded me an opportunity to stay involved with the game in terms of coaching and a modified version of the game and a foundation and a lot of different other things and equipment company. So really busy, but I'm currently in Princeton, New Jersey, just finished up on the fields and I got dropped off and ran in here to get on the podcast and excited to talk with both of you.
Well, we can't all look as good as Finn does in a mere moment's notice, but Finn's in Philadelphia. you spent some time in Florida working on that TAM, but what have you been up to since the last time you put on a pro uniform?
Yeah, Teddy. No, I just left Florida about a year ago. I was actually part of the year, Casey's neighbor in Delray Beach. So I came back up about a year ago now to Philadelphia, where I really made my bread and butter. I was down in Florida for those 11 years. Wanted to come up north to be near my mom, who's up in Manhattan, until we got through COVID. She got the vaccine. So came back up here, met up with some great people, both in indoor and field lacrosse, notably Fusion Lacrosse and Penn Lax All-Stars. So they've been awesome. Kevin Crowley and most particular Steve Holmes. Got a chance to really coach kids in box lacrosse for the first time in my life, at a consistent basis with Penn Lax All-Stars. So that really was great. And getting ready in a couple of weeks to do my 26th annual summer camp down in Stone Harbor, where it all began. So just been doing a lot of coaching, a lot of training, but mostly just looking after Mama Finn in Manhattan.
Yeah, that's awesome. We want to wish her the best, and hopefully you guys can get through this and Mama Finn can be there for the Hall of Fame induction ceremony that most likely will be in a couple months' time. When you got that call, Kevin Finneran, were there nerves? Were there tears? Was there excitement? What was going through your mind when you found out that you were going to be inducted in the National Lacrosse League Hall of Fame?
Really, all of the above, Ted. You hit it right in the nail on the head. Nerves, excitement, and definitely tears. Got a call. I was doing some work down in Old City at a local coffee shop, and Mike French was on the line. And when he said, I want to be the first, then to congratulate you, I was totally pumped. So many great memories. I knew after a 5-year hiatus, my chances would probably get a little bit better. But, as Casey could probably attest, I've thought over the years that I would have a good chance and, just had to wait and wait. So it's behind me. I'm excited. Couldn't be happier to go in with such a great class. And obviously with such a great teammate of mine for many, many years, Casey, but some of the other boys, obviously, as well, who I played with and against. So it's special.
Probably very similar for you, Casey. Where were you when you got the call?
Yeah, I was driving in my car down in Florida, and I too got the call from Mike French, legend. And I've gained some accolades and some awards in the National Hall of Fame and some New York type stuff, but this is certainly my greatest honor. Teddy, I was a teammate with you and Kevin, and I was coached by Kevin, and it wasn't always easy. My first couple of years in the league were difficult and a learning experience, and then we got kind of thwarted out in Anaheim down there. But I I kept kind of going at it, kept learning, and had some great people to follow. Some of the greats, the all-time greats that I got to play with and against. So I knew Kevin had a shot. I knew I had some awards, but Kevin's got the rings, so I was a little concerned about that. But really excited and honored to have this opportunity and to celebrate with Kevin and the National Lacrosse League, which is a league that I've adored and really appreciated the opportunity to be a part of.
I want to sort of touch on those first few years. How much of a struggle was it for you? Coming out of Syracuse, you go to Rochester, you're a Nighthawk. It's an incredibly deep and talented team, but you guys were in a rough and tumble division with Buffalo and Toronto and Philadelphia and New York. What were those first few years like for you as you learned the box game and the trials and tribulations of it?
Well, I think, first and foremost, when I was growing up, my goal was to play lacrosse for Syracuse University and to be the best lacrosse player that I could be. And I did that. And my dream came true. And I didn't at the time dream to play pro lacrosse. I didn't dream to play for the Rochester Nighthawks. I knew about it. I watched a game here and there, but I didn't have a ton of box lacrosse experience or box lacrosse aspirations. So I was hired by Warrior Lacrosse Company. It was the first time I ever had a paycheck. It was the first time I ever had money. I had all these cool opportunities where I was able to travel around the country. And to be quite honest, I wasn't a good teammate. I didn't come to every practice. I didn't grind it out, and I wasn't completely passionate about it at the time. I think, and I was treated as such by my teammates. I think they saw that I wasn't 100% completely into it. So not only was I against, some formidable competition, but I was also, still trying to gain the respect of the people in my locker room, which later on down the road, I learned was the most important thing in terms of having success in the box game. So those first couple of years were tough, but certainly a learning experience. And I'm glad it happened the way it did because it made me appreciate the game later on down the road when I was able to pick it back up again.
Kevin, did you find any struggles in your first few years with the Wings when you stepped indoors for the first time?
Well, it was really Boston beforehand. Right out of college, I got transferred there and I started there. We were an all-American team. I was all over the map, righty, lefty, going from behind, shooting with no angle. So I learned, played my first game, couldn't hit the side of the barn. Dallas Ellie shut me out. Second game, I sat, I didn't dress. And my third game against Sal Ocasio in the New York Saints, I had 3-3. And my confidence just skyrocketed that year. So went from there. I got transferred to Detroit. So that's when I really kind of fell in love with it and really kind of like learned from the best, because myself and Adam Mueller and maybe one or two other guys were the only Americans on the team. So I learned from all the great Canadians and obviously learned from the GOAT in Gary Gait and the coach, Mito Martinello, who really taught me the game. And it's an interesting little fact. Not a lot of people know I'm a natural lefty, and the rest of my career, I played 99% lefty. But that year we had Gary, Paul, Brian Nicula. We had some psychotically great lefties. So I switched over the right-hand side, and that was interesting. That helped me in different ways. But then going to Philadelphia and then learning from those guys again, another great coach in Dave Evans, and then Dallas and Gates came along, and then the rest is history. I just picked it up game by game. Try to fit in my role, how I could help out. Again, that time I was a natural lefty playing my natural position the rest of my career, which was great.
I think that's a pretty cool part of your story. And we see it a lot with lacrosse players now. They come in and they think they're going to be one thing, but they're maybe way down the depth chart and may not be able to be that thing. So they get put into a different role and asked to do something different. Casey, did you ever feel that you weren't asked to be sort of the number one guy when you first came in, and that might have kind of played a role in why you weren't as successful in those first 2 years, because you thought you were the guy and maybe weren't able to be that?
Did I act that way, Teddy?
No, not at
all. Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, with the lack of box experience that I had coming into Rochester and with the amount of talent on that club was impressive, and it did allow me to kind of ease into the game. So I was, Anaheim, I was asked to be more of the guy. In Rochester, I was not. I was asked to be more of a supporting cast and kind of eased into the game a little bit. But it was great to be a part of an amazing team. And again, even now I'm still learning the box game and learning the little, ins and outs of it. But those early years of my career certainly set me up for success later on. And I was lucky to get through it, mentally, physically, and with my confidence, and have, as you guys said, have great coaches and learn from the great players that I was able to play with and against.
We're here on the Seals Pod. San Diego has great beaches. Anaheim has great beaches. There's beaches all across North America, and you've started speed lacrosse. And I don't want to say it was the impetus for what the Olympic lacrosse is kind of going to look like, but speed lacrosse has really taken over, and you've really created a nice little niche for yourself.
Yeah. So when I retired and I had the opportunity to kind of reflect on my career, I thought about, hey, why was I so successful at the game? Why were my brothers so successful? We didn't do things differently than a lot of the other guys, other than we had nightly lacrosse competition, which felt like a world championship every single night in our backyard. My brother Mike would tie the net. My brother Ryan would bring a bag of flour and do the crease, and whatever little grass we'd have left, I'd be mowing the lawn, and the neighbors would over and it felt like a world championship, and we would compete, we would dive, we would cry if we lost. Like it was full on competition. So with a stick in my hand all day, playing wall ball and playing catch, and then being able to compete on a nightly basis, not only did it help my skill development, but it really built my passion for the game, and it allowed me to be creative with the game. I didn't have a coach there telling me what to do and what not to do and all that kind of stuff. So it was free play. And that really catapulted me to a long career of development, of loving the opportunity to compete, and having that creative flair, so to speak. So I started speed lacrosse, which is a 40-yard by 20-yard court, almost the same size as my backyard. And I developed a stronger rule set around it that kids can go out and utilize and use. And not only kids, but also people that like myself who don't want to get whacked on the arms anymore, but still want to kind of break a sweat. So it's been a lot of fun. I'm a big believer in it. I really think it's something that the world, lacrosse could benefit from, and U.S. lacrosse and Canada lacrosse could benefit from, in getting more people to play it, because all you need is a stick. And that's been, important to me. So the message of it, and the sampling and the development and the building of passion, for me, is a perfect kind of test tube for what lacrosse, or an introduction to what lacrosse should be. I have a hard time with watching 5 and 6 and 7-year-olds run around with equipment and trying to keep their pads on and, touch the ball 2 or 3 times a game. So the goal is to get more touches, to have more fun. And, one of the analogies that I always use is, I'm not a great golfer, but if I hit a 20-foot putt in for a double par, I still feel good. And that's kind of what you're seeing. You're seeing kids that don't normally have a feel good feeling, that there's more opportunity to get involved and pick up a big ground ball, make a nice pass. So I'm a big believer in speed lacrosse. And I think, we're just trying to get warmed up, and I really developed the game and the set of rules based off my past experiences of playing field and box and backyard lacrosse. And I really wanted to create it for the game of lacrosse to benefit from. And it's starting to take hold.
You're upstate New York, Kevin's Long Island. Which is the bigger lacrosse hotbed, or sorry, the better lacrosse hotbed?
I've always, I won't say who's better, because that's not how I roll, but you got to throw in Baltimore there. And as far as the importance of the sport, and it's a major city, which makes it, I always like saying that. I'm from Long Island, Casey's from upstate, but Baltimore's a major city. So but as far as who's better, well, I mean, come on. No, but I'll echo what Casey was saying, Teddy, about speed. And the more ways that kids can have fun at the sport of lacrosse, the more kids are going to want to play it. Yeah. So as I said, in a few weeks, I have my camp coming up. We'll play field lacrosse. We'll play box lacrosse, because there's an outdoor rink there. We'll play beach lacrosse, and then we'll certainly play speed lacrosse. So that's what makes it fun for the kids. And that's what I'm all about. I love the game. I played at a high level. I played with and against the greatest of my generation. But the most fulfilling thing for me is helping kids get to college and helping young kids get introduced to the sport and have fun with it.
Yeah, from speed lacrosse to what U.S. Box is doing all across the country, the game of box lacrosse is growing huge. And you mentioned Penlax All Stars and
Right.
Penyan and all that stuff. And we have here in San Diego, we obviously have the Royals now, and the Dragons are playing. And there's the California Box League, the Colorado, Connecticut, upstate New York. Like what U.S. Boxla is doing for the game in the States, I don't think can really be attested to how important it is and how strong of a relationship they're building with these young kids in the game of box. How have you guys seen the acceptance of the box game with the American youth? Because for years, those kids never played it. And then once they found the box game, they're like, oh, what the heck is this weird version of the field game? So how are the kids now accepting it, Kev?
Well, again, I can only speak for Philadelphia because I was down in Florida for 11 years. And by the time when I left, there was no box lacrosse for youth kids here. Yeah. Now it's the midgets, the Pantams, the Pee-wees. So they're all playing it, and they play it the correct way because the coaches coach them, Casey, the correct way. At least kids are on their left side, cutting the middle, staying, cutting the middle, pick and rolls, running to the bench, getting on, getting off, transition plays, working off the boards correctly, goalies with the real full pads. And this is, again, 8-year-olds to high school year olds. So in Philadelphia and around those other parts of the country, like you said, Teddy, but I can only speak for Penn Lax and what Kevin Crowley and Steve Holmes and a lot of the great coaches did. I was just so blessed to be a part of it this winter. It's great. And as far as acceptance wise, the kids love it. So that's the bottom line. So I don't care if their field coach doesn't love it. These kids are playing because they love it. And if the parents see that they love it, it's going to continue to grow that way slowly but surely.
You notice that too, Case?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what they've done is incredible. They've been able to plant seeds around different parts of the country, and it's certainly something that I wish I had growing up. And the results don't lie, for sure. The best lacrosse players in the world, the best lacrosse players ever, have a box lacrosse background, and it's important to their development, whether they're going to stick with box or go back to field. My career in box lacrosse helped me extend my professional lacrosse career. It helped me adapt to the different changes as I was going, getting slower and, all the different changes that you make. So I think they're doing an incredible job. It's the same feeling I have. I love the game of box lacrosse. It's my preferred, style. If I had to, choose between the two, but it certainly goes hand in hand, and it's something that they've done a great job with. And I think they're just getting warmed up, and we're going to see the benefits later on down the road.
The Anaheim Storm were sort of the precipitous for the San Diego Seals and the introduction of box lacrosse in Southern California. The three of us were there. There weren't many fans there, but we were there. What do you remember about those days, Kev? Because that was a tough first go for pro lacrosse in Southern California.
Well, I always loved coming out to Cali. That's for sure. That was a highlight. I didn't end up moving out there like I think CP did the year after. So that was great, along with some guys. I remember a team that worked hard, and we were thrust into the coaching staff 3 games in. So I had just retired. I felt I could play another year or two, but I decided to kind of retire. So I was still learning the game as a coach. And we played a lot of tough games, a lot of close games. But it was a great experience. I actually, the next year, decided not to coach and try out again, come out of retirement with the Wings. So again, up until recently, I hadn't coached box lacrosse in a long time. And it's been great to get back into it. And this is obviously the icing on the cake, what's going to happen to Casey and I in a couple of months. And I always like to say there was no way I would have made Team USA with Casey in 1998 and win the world championship down in Baltimore without the first 5 or 6 years of my career playing box lacrosse as well. That differentiated myself from a lot of the players that might have been a better field lacrosse player for me, but I had some of the intangibles and the nuances that box lacrosse taught me.
I wasn't going to bring up 98. Why the hell did you have to bring up 98?
That's right, so Teddy. You were on that squad.
Oh, my brother Freddie was on that team.
Okay.
I was sitting in a bar at home and watching it, and I still can't watch overtime. But just to add to that, we'll get back to Casey's Palace on the beach in Southern California. But that 98 game, I still think is the greatest lacrosse game ever played. And I still think it should be a 30 for 30 ESPN documentary because what was it, 12-2 in the third quarter, and you guys were just absolutely steamrolling us. And then Tapper started winning draws, and Marichek started to get his hands free, and just the snowball started. How was that for you guys? Because like we talk to the Canadians about it all the time and how memorable it was. As guys on the other side of the coin, watching that comeback and being a part of that, what was it like, Case?
Well, I just remember that, we got the big lead. I was semi-injured. I played sparingly, and I was trying to adapt to that. But I just remember jumping on Canada, and I was like, hey, man, I'm going to have a gold medal. And the whole stadium thought that, and half the stadium left. And I just remember, at halftime, they started scoring. Canada started scoring. And then people weren't allowed back into the stadium until they started climbing the fence to get back in. Before you knew it, midway through the fourth quarter, it's where there's more people that were there in the first place, so the word around and the buzz was going. But it was it was a game where you're up early, so you feel like you have the upper hand, and then when the other team's coming back, your confidence is shot a little bit, and you're like, oh man, like we're not doing so well here. But obviously the ending was preferred. But it was an incredible game to be a part of on the sidelines, and so many legendary players, my idols, were on the other team, and just to be a part of a game like that in front of all the different countries, and my first international experience was something I'll never forget. And I've never been a part of a greater game as well.
Kev, how special does that moment rank on the list of accomplishments and championships that you have?
Oh, it's definitely top 5. It was at the time a little bittersweet for me because the International Lacrosse Foundation had a wacky rule. You could only dress 22 players or something like that. And myself and a couple other buddies, again, at the time, it was an incredible game, incredible to be a part of it. And I never focus on that, especially down the road now, years later. But it was something, and it definitely one of the highlights of my championships. My parents were all there, my family, and I know what these guys could do as we were playing and we were kicking butt. I knew who was on the other side: Gary, Paul, Marichek, Tavares, John Grant Jr. I can go on, and then Tapper was kicking butt, and your defense came up back. So I knew it wasn't going to be easy, even that far ahead. And so it was a great experience. And again, I have it in Baltimore, close to home. So definitely one of my top 5 experiences. And then to make matters worse, 3 years ago, CP, I was coaching. We were in again, I think Baltimore. Yeah, it was University of Maryland won that championship, and I wore my ring. I always wear my USA field ring when I'm coaching field, and then when I'm coaching box, I wear one of my indoor rings. But wearing that proud as I had for 20 years since 1998 when we won, and I was so out of shape, CP. I couldn't wear the ring on my regular finger, so I had to wear it on my pinky. During the course of the day, I was excited coaching up the little kids. Next thing I look down, and I'm like, please tell me it's in the bag. So I stormed the whole field, all my hotel room, the cars for like hours, and it's in Baltimore somewhere.
No way.
Yeah, sucks.
Wow.
I know. And I tried to go through the loops with Jostens. I went with this guy, this is 2-3 years back, gave him all the info. He was not very professional. He never fired, just to make a copy of it or something like that. Yeah. So
right.
It's still a great memory.
It'll be on the next episode of Pawn Stars or something like that.
Yeah. Good one, Teddy.
Thanks, buddy. Casey, you've seen The Last Dance, the Michael Jordan documentary. Did you notice the hat that Dennis Rodman was wearing?
I didn't.
Class of 47.
Oh, class of 47. That place was I did see that. I forgot.
It's a bar in what was it?
Balboa Island.
Balboa Island in Anaheim. What a spot that was. You took me and Cam Bergman there after one weekend, and we got a little sideways. But you had a great spot right there down on Newport Beach, literally steps from the sand and the ocean. Was that sort of when you kind of started really diving into being a professional lacrosse player and really learning the life and focusing yourself on what it took to be there? Because you had moved there, you were in the market, you were doing everything you could for the Anaheim Storm, and it really catapulted your career because you had taken some time off.
Yeah, for sure. I was able to, work for the Anaheim Storm franchise and do a lot of different public appearances and understand what it meant to get involved with the community and understand the impact that I could make on a community, which is such a huge deal in terms of making a presence and inspiring more people to enjoy the game. So, it was a great opportunity. Obviously, there's a lot of distractions, but I just remember I had a convertible and I'm, with my lacrosse bag in the back, and I'm driving to the Anaheim Arrowhead Pond. I'm like, this is pretty awesome right here. A boy from Carthage, New York, is now, has surfer hair and is driving a convertible to a professional lacrosse game in Anaheim, California. So yeah, it was certainly a great experience, and everything that I've done has kind of led up to where I am, and I'm very thankful for all the awesome experiences that I've had.
You get California sunshine. We also get Florida sunshine with the Orlando Titans. You guys went on an epic run with them, losing to Calgary in the finals. That was the year you're named MVP. You become the first American to do it. That was a special year for you guys. How amazing would it have been if Caleb Toth didn't score that last goal right before halftime to kind of set the tone for the second half? How cool would it have been for you guys to win that trophy? And despite everything that was going on with the Titans organization.
Yeah, I mean, that Toth shot was a dagger for sure. It kind of took the air out of us a little bit, but we had a very special team. We had a very special club from the ownership down, the coaching and with Eddie Como and after Adam Mueller kind of got the program going. So really lucky to be a part of it. We had a lot of Americans that were kind of in the same boat as me. We're learning to figure out a role and how to help and where to help. And then we had a great supporting cast and a guy named Vino between the pipes who did a pretty good job and continues to do so. But we had a great club. We were very tight, and in my experience with pro lacrosse throughout the years, the tightest teams do the most damage out on the floor together. They care about each other and they care about their performance and stuff like that. And we certainly had that. So we didn't win it, but it was a special run. And I don't regret anything in terms of the performance that we put out there. So we had a great run.
Does the magnitude of being the first American MVP in the National Lacrosse League still weigh on you? Is that something you think about and hold dear?
Absolutely. I mean, that's incredible. It's an incredible stat. And, it's, when you look at guys like Tom Schreiber and, the guys that are playing after me and Connor Fields and, guys like that, American guys that, could get the job done. They get off to hot starts or they go on runs and then kind of, fade out or, don't finish quite as strongly. So they're still kind of on the up like I was, and where they're trying to continue to put it all together for a 16, 18 game season. So it's an incredible accomplishment. It was I think more than the award itself was getting the respect of the people that I played against.
Absolutely. I think that was, I agree with that. That's huge because I don't want to say there was always that, oh, he's just an American guy playing box. Like everybody knew how talented you were and how special you were. But that moment was sort of a crowning achievement of everything that you had done and everything you had accomplished, not just personally, but for the game of lacrosse itself. I think it was just a very, very special moment for the game of lacrosse to show Americans that, hey, we can hang in the indoor game with these Canadians. It's not just their game anymore. We're here now. And you mentioned, the Schreibers and the Fields and, Matt Rambo and the list of guys that are coming up through the ranks and all the kids that are now in these U.S. boxing programs that we're going to be hearing for years to come. There is an influx of Americans coming to the box game that we've never seen before. And I think that is only going to make this game more special as we get more and more kids really diving into the indoor game. And Kev, you talked about it. The kids in Philadelphia are really starting to love the game. The cool thing is a lot of those kids that are playing box lacrosse in Philadelphia now are probably sons of guys that watched you as a Philadelphia Wing and watched Casey as a Rochester Nighthawk. Those guys that grew up on the box game, watching it as fans, are now getting their kids involved. And it's making the game more special for the American players, isn't it, Kev?
It's so funny you say that because I was at a tournament last weekend and our ball boy for the Wings for 5 years, he's now 40 and his son is on the team. His son is, 10 years old, 14 years old or something like that. So yeah, I mean, I know you want cool, fun stories, and I love telling them. That freaked me out. Like to see this kid who's now a man, 40. He was our ball boy for 5 years on the wing. So yeah, but there's so many others for sure. And when I'm really gonna see this Teddy and CP is when the season comes back this year, and I go to the games again. And people have not been around, seeing the game, and there'll be those fans that did come to games, and invariably they're like, I used to come watch you play, Finneran, that was awesome. So absolutely. And I'll go back a little bit with another Casey Titans story. So part of the reason I moved to Florida, Teddy, was I wanted to grow the sport down there. Every year I would have a bye week. My girlfriend and I at the time would go down to Miami, and I'm like, I want to get a team down here. I want to get a team down here. That wasn't feasible, but where the Panthers players was. So 2009, I brought down Casey's New York Titans team at the time against my old team, the Toronto Rock, and they played the first regular season game ever in the state of Florida. We called it the Florida Lacrosse Cup. Casey was the captain of the Titans, and Colin Doyle, I think, for Toronto. Glennie Clark and Jimmy Beltman were coaching, yada, yada, yada. So we were excited. It was a great event, great venue, decent crowd, great game. But backing up like 2 hours before the game, Casey still hadn't signed his contract. And I was like, please, Casey, sign your contract. I need you out here. So yeah. I always like to tell that Titan story.
I was holding out for more per diem.
You got $25 instead of 20 back then?
Yeah. The holdout worked.
Kev, you won 4 titles with the Wings. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's 4 titles with the Wings. And you also got one with the Toronto Rock in 2002. And you became one of the first Americans to actually play for the Toronto Rock in that incredible run. And you mentioned guys like Colin Doyle and Veltman and Clarkey. How special was it to be a part of that team, as historic as they were in the run that they were on?
Sure. I mean, I had 10 great years with the Wings. And my 11th year coming in, they wanted to make a couple of changes. And I said, okay, I understand, but I still got some game in me. So I didn't know what to do. Les Bartley, in fact, he tells me that, God rest his soul, him and Eddie Camo were getting ready for the season, getting ready for training camp. And they're like, Kim Squire had gotten bone-eating flesh thing or something like that, that disease, flesh eating. And so they were needing a lefty. And then either Eddie or Les said to one each other, how cool would it be if Kevin Finneran was available or something like that? And so sure enough, Les called me. We went back and forth. I said, yeah, I'll do it. And then on my way to see my mom, I kind of was so nervous. I'm like, I don't think I can go play for them. That'd be like, being an Eagle and going and play for the Cowboy, or being a Syracuse Orangeman like CP and going and play for Hopkins. So I backed out. He goes, why don't you come on up? Check it out. We'll fly you up. And that sold me. I went into the dressing room. And yeah, it was special being the only American, but also playing against all these guys I hated for years.
Right.
But they welcomed me. I fit my role, got right in there, and finishing up with my 5th ring, ending it was really special with them, no doubt.
Casey, when you were brought to Colorado by Steve Govett, you were, at the prime of your indoor career, and you were playing some outstanding lacrosse, but Denver was still sort of a city on the grow for the world of lacrosse. And this is kind of a theme of this. Wherever you guys kind of go, lacrosse starts to build. And what did you like about the Denver lacrosse market and the mammoth fans and what Steve Govett had built there?
Steve Govett. Sounds familiar. I think I remember him. Well, listen, so, that's that place is unbelievable. And I played there for years. It's a real professional atmosphere. It is no joke. And every time I went there as an opponent, I just thought to myself, God, I'd love if all these fans were cheering for me. And it never happened. It was an incredibly difficult place to play, but incredibly energetic. The fans, the community loved it, got behind it, supported it. And I was a little bit jealous of all that. And, I remember playing in Rochester after, going to Boston and then to Rochester. And I got the call from Steve Govett that he was going to trade for me. And it was really a dream come true to have the opportunity to go out there and play for such an amazing organization that's created such a ripple effect of Western lacrosse expansion. So that was a dream come true for me and my professional lacrosse career, to play for the most passionate fans that I had ever played in front of.
Yeah, it was amazing to see what they've done, and obviously the hope is now that that's what's going to happen here in San Diego. And just once people see the game and understand it and start to get behind their team and their players, it can be a lot of fun. And you mentioned it, Colorado is an absolutely sports mad town, and they love everything they do. And Steve did a great job there, and he's doing an incredible job here with us in San Diego. But Kev, you played with Steve in Philly, yes?
I did.
What was he like in the locker room as a teammate and as a leader of that group? Because those were some incredibly passionate teams and the Philadelphia Wings.
Yeah, I think Steve came, correct me if I'm wrong, 1994. And because he had known Gary and Paul and Tommy, and we had all three of those guys in the squad.
Tough lineup.
Yep. And we were like, where'd this guy come from? I mean, he was definitely, like a character from Slapshot. And so we were kind of like, well, all right. And then to make matters more interesting, he wore the quarterback face mask. He didn't have the full bar CP. He just had the quarterback.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. So that was so unique. And, he was tough, man. He the old saying, you love him on your team, you hate him against you. And so right away, we knew he was going to help us win our first championship in '94, and then another one in '95 where he fed Gary for the winning assist, which closed down the spectrum. Last game ever there, any sport, basketball, lacrosse, or hockey. And then, he was tough, character, great teammate. Obviously he's gone on to do amazing things as a business executive in the National Lacrosse League.
Yeah, he's doing some great stuff in the world of lacrosse and helping grow the game, and just the magnitude that people take for the world of lacrosse, and you take experience that you get as a player and you push that towards your past life, is something that a lot of people do. And you guys are doing it and growing your game coaching with Speed Lacrosse and your youth clubs, and Steve's doing it in the executive level. And we all have our role in growing this game. And we talked about, you guys come from hotbeds of lacrosse, and it's great to be able to go back home and see the results of all the work you're doing. And Casey, Carthage may not be the most known lacrosse city out there, but it has produced some absolutely phenomenal talent. What's Carthage like as a town? Because it's pretty quiet, right?
Yeah, it's a small town, blue collar. It's in 90 miles north of Syracuse. It's there's a river that runs through it called the Black River, and it was a paper mill town. So there's 3 different paper mills in which my grandfather worked in, and my dad's brothers and my dad worked in. And if lacrosse didn't come to town, then I probably would have followed suit. But it was a perfect town to grow up in. It was a small village surrounded by dairy farms and not a whole lot of distractions. And when we said, hey, we're going to the city to do some shopping, that was heading down to Watertown, New York, 13 miles away to go to the Salmon Run Mall and to check it out. But I just had a wonderful group of athletes and friends and go-getters. We didn't have aspirations to really be anything other than to have fun and enjoy the day. And I've been able to kind of carry that on throughout my career where, hey, today's the day, and I'm going to give it all I got. And this is, if I had the opportunity to play lacrosse, and this was the big one. So it was just a perfect town. And, we've inspired a lot of people to kind of continue, and it continues to be a lacrosse town. There's a sign at the entrance that says, welcome to Carthage, home of the Powell brothers. And,
Nice.
It's something that we're really, really proud of. And
Nice.
We've made an impact on the community. But getting back to the question earlier, I think upstate lacrosse is the number one hotbed in the world.
Yes, well done.
Cradle of lacrosse. It's the cradle of lacrosse. And it was a joy to grow up there and to be a part of such a cool town, and that continues to strive in the game of lacrosse.
With everything that's going on in the indigenous culture across North America, with the residential schools and racial abuse through all sports, The area that you grew up in upstate New York does have a lot of reservations and a lot of Indian culture throughout. As you grew up, how much more did you learn about the sport of lacrosse through the Creators Game and through the stories that the Indigenous players of our league tell?
Yeah, I didn't know a whole lot about it. That's what initially got me excited about it. My gym teacher, who later on became the high school coach, Kirk Venequatro, told me that Native Americans created the sport, and that was intriguing to me and my brothers, who had the same lesson in that gym class before we knew anything about the game. And warriors used it as ways to prepare for war and to uplift and heal. So that was a really intriguing part of it. I thought the history of that. And it wasn't until college where I started to get kind of recruited to play for the Akwesasne Thunder and played every summer up there. And I'd read up with Jeremy Hollenbeck and Red Burnham and Ronnie Davis. And, I'd kind of be the young guy in the back. And these guys had all sorts of stories. And a lot of them I can't tell of the stories. And then I was able to play for Six Nations. And Coach Simmons at Syracuse was a big fan of the tie-in, tying in the Syracuse lacrosse program to the Native American roots of it. And we were able to, go over and watch Alfie Jacques stick make and have guest speakers, Oren Lyons, who was Coach Simmons' teammate and stuff like that. So it wasn't really until I got to college where I learned the significance and the importance of it. And I certainly have, not only was I intrigued from the first time I heard about it, but now I just have so much respect for what that means to what I've been able to be a part of. And I'm very thankful that the roots of the game and the respect of the game still continue to be talked about, and that we're finally, talking about it and thanking, what they have done for us and what they have done for our game. So, and we have great role models. The Thompson brothers have just been unbelievable role models on and off the floor, and they're younger than me, and they were ball boys when I was at Syracuse, but I certainly look up to them and how they represent themselves and their people and the game of lacrosse. So I still continue to learn, and I love talking about it. I love hearing about it, and I love the respect. This whole Olympic thing, I'm if they can't play, I don't want any part of it. And I think I'm hoping that the Iroquois have the opportunity to play in it and be a part of it and to carry the torch.
Mm-hmm. Guys, this has been a fantastic conversation. We could probably talk for hours, but life goes on. 2 questions, one for each of you. Kevin, you were known for being the most fashionable guy in the National Lacrosse League back in the day, and contracts weren't that big, so I don't know how you could afford all those fancy suits, but what did it mean to you to look like a professional and be a professional and act like a professional so that you could be the best you could be when you got to the rink and on the floor?
Well, and I'll echo what Casey's saying about Native Americans, and that's really a good point. And especially his last one, that if they're not a part of lacrosse, the Olympics, because you see so many of these little small countries, and just something came to mind. I mean, no disrespect, that have Olympic sports, like not Samoa, but so many of those like little islands in Fiji, they have like Olympic teams in the Olympics. So there's no question that the Iroquois national team should be in there. And again, I meant no disrespect to those other countries. But no, listen, as first couple of years in, I said, after I left my quote unquote real job in corporate America and I started Coach Finn Lacrosse, now 26 years, I said, all right, I am a professional at this. I'm going to dress like a professional. Okay. I'm going to work out and train like a professional. I'm going to eat like a professional. I'm going to give volunteer work and do charity work like a professional in Philadelphia and so many other things. And I'm certainly going to play like a professional. So yes, even though I wasn't making the kind of money that a lot of the guys are now that I'm happy for, and you hear that about other sports, I didn't care. I was a professional lacrosse player.
That's awesome. Casey, your last one. We've mentioned his name a few times, Gary Gait. How much of an impact has he made on Syracuse lacrosse? Obviously, he's done remarkable work with the women's game, and now he's going to be taking over the men's team. How much has his legacy just continued to grow there and what he's done with Syracuse lacrosse since he's left and come back?
Well, it couldn't be, more honored to have such an amazing role model throughout my career. somebody that sparked my interest, that showed me that flair and confidence and swagger can all play a big part of the game. And the first time I walked into the game was the Carrier Dome was 1988. And I saw him and his brother, and I saw Coach Simmons on the sidelines, and I heard the music, and I knew that day that's what I wanted to be. And for several years, I was Gary Gate in my backyard, and my brother Ryan was Paul Gate, and my brother Mike was the opposing team goalie. But the fact that he's what he's done and how he's represented himself, and now he's the main man now at Syracuse is a thrill. He continues to inspire me and all the followers that he revolutionized Syracuse lacrosse and the sport of lacrosse in general. And as a side note, I cannot wait to see Dave Petramella in an orange sweatshirt.
Right? That's crazy. That was like what Kev was talking about. We'd be like, leave Casey leaving Syracuse to go for Hopkins, and now Petro's doing it. I think it's going to be so cool. He's going to hear it from everybody in Hopkins blue.
No doubt.
Were you at the air gate goal?
Yes.
Air gate goal?
Yeah.
Did it just blow your mind?
Yeah, it blew my mind. Still does. But we went to the backyard. My parents left for a overnighter, and we pulled out mattresses, and we're jumping over the back landing. But it inspired us to think outside the box and to kind of create our own flair. And seeing that it was accepted and successful, it gave us the confidence that, hey, this is a way that we can be. And that was exciting. And that's what, again, kind of helped build our passion for the game.
Guys, you are pioneers. Even though if you don't want to see it that way, you are legends and pioneers of the box game, of the field game, and for Americans playing this game. The future is bright, and it's all thanks to you guys. The Hall of Fame is very well deserved. I'm so happy for you as former teammates, foes, allies, and peers. Congratulations. I look forward to seeing you in Buffalo and appreciate your time. Thanks, guys.
Let's go, Ted. Thanks for all you do in the sport, my man. And future's bright, especially with guys like Josai and Wayne Gretzky coming. We have so much momentum, both field and outdoor. But obviously, I speak for Casey. My passion has always been box a little bit more. And if you speak to any of the powers that be, Teddy, try to see if they can get us a ring so I can replace that other one.
I'll work on it for you, buddy. I'll do what I can.
Hey, go Shield, Teddy. LL, play box lacrosse. Let's go, baby.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate you.